Hey, this is Nick Williams coming at you from the frozen tundra of the upstate of South Carolina because it is wet and cold. It's that cold that just kind of goes right to your bones. But anyhow, the reason for my video today is regarding when to not use technology, because I talk to agents all the time and it's always technology this and technology that, how to make things easier. But oftentimes that will make things more difficult. And I want to give you several instances. Number one, if your client has some type of speech impediment where it's a little hard to understand them, or a hearing impediment, which is quite normal, especially if you're, again, this is working in the home. Your client is older, and I say older, maybe 70 to 75, the hearing starts to go, and you want to have them do a over the phone scope of appointment or an over the phone application. It just doesn't make sense because it's just going to create frustration. And that is going to make things more difficult. So you got somebody and you might be able to sell a Medicare Advantage. You decide to get them, like say, for example, with WellCare, you want to get this over the phone scope of appointment done, uh, which is totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. But because you want to make things easy, you subject your client to having to go through that frustration of dealing with somebody who may be who may have they may have an accent that's difficult to understand. They may be very rigid or very unpleasant, and it's just going to make things unpleasant for your client. And why do that to your client when you could just take out a pen and a piece of paper and do it yourself and make it easy? Another situation where you would not want to use technology is when you get out into when you get out, like in the upstate and many areas, and you're not sure if you're going to have a good signal or not, and you start fighting with the signal, your Wi-Fi or whatever, your I shouldn't say Wi-Fi, but more so you just your internet connectivity, through your phone, if you're using your phone as a hotspot or whatever technology you're using, and you're going to sit there and fight with that while the client's just sitting there kind of getting a little bit frustrated, perhaps. Again, doesn't make any sense. Another situation, when you have apps that you're not familiar with, like for example, you might be using Humana, Mappa, or United Healthcare, Lean, whatever program it is. If you don't know how to use it, and you're going to learn how to use it, or maybe they've just changed the entire program because they do that from time to time, and you're going to learn all the new changes while you're sitting down with some poor old lady, poor little old lady who's going to watch you fumble and just fight with trying to make this work. So you make yourself look a little foolish when you don't know how to use the technology you have. Uh, I would say also one other situation is there are companies, and I'm not going to go into the names of the companies because I don't want to disparage companies, but especially for final expense, if you do a completely automated application, they'll issue the application right there, pretty much on the phone. And so when you hang up the phone, you practically have an application going in the mail. Like as soon as it can be printed and bound, it's going out in the mail to the client, and they'll pay you a higher commission. So that's kind of now. This would be fine. This would be fine, but those telephone interviews are long, and I don't care what anybody says, they are long, especially again if your client doesn't hear well. And you always get that situation where it's like, huh, what? And you always you have the old image of agents like in the background saying, just say this, say that. They're just ask, so the agent's almost answering the questions for this person on the phone, the interviewer on the phone. Um, so that's not a good thing. You get paid a little bit higher commission. You know, that's not, it just doesn't make any sense. I would never sell. I would never do that just for 5 more points or 10 more points of commission. It just doesn't make any sense. And here's the other thing: the pricing may not be, and I know at least in one instance the pricing is worse. So they're giving you all this convenience. They're paying you a higher commission for a product that's a higher priced product for the consumer, and so that everybody uses this streamlined system. Not good. Not good. Um, it doesn't take long if you compare the time it takes to go through some of these phone interviews, the frustration and the aggravation. You can do a handwritten application just as fast. It does prevent the issues that you get when submitting the applications, that the business is not complete, so it's not in good order. There's the online applications and sometimes over the phone applications, they require that the application be in good order. So you need to do a good application and you won't have that problem. So I suggest doing being able to do a good paper applications and utilizing paper applications. It's not going to take you as long. I tell you what, I can send something to America or Mutual of Omaha, and the client doesn't have to answer any questions with anybody over the phone, and it's good products, good rates, everything is good. The commission's great. So, you know, I may have to fax off an application. And the one last thing I'll say about automated underwriting or automated using technology to submit applications, it's not like you have all their information right there. Some companies don't provide that information to you later. So if you submit that automated application, you better get a copy of that data and get it quick. I know years back when I would do things with Humana, with MAPA, I haven't tried this recently, but I had a heck of a time I could not go into the system and pull a copy of the application. I may have been a big dummy and not have figured it out, but I think it's more so that it just wasn't something that was, they didn't have a, the system did not provide the ability for you to print out an application that you had submitted through MAPA. You got this weird printout and you just, the data wasn't okay. I don't believe you have a client unless you have a copy of everything, all the business you've conducted with that client. And you can't, because if you can't reference back what you've done, the information that you inputted properly, and it's so easy on an application, but you lose that information, and in my opinion, you lose the client. So there you go. When to not use automation, technology, whatever you may call it. And again, there's nothing wrong with the paper app. Scan it and fax it. You're done. Bye.